Red shift here, doing my part shift perceptions out of the pink and into the red. Okay, so I wanted to mention that you actually could do a breeding program without other men. You could still do a eugenic breeding program without needing to find other couples to do it with, so that you can marry your biological kids off to their sperm bank sperm kids and marry your sperm bank kids off to their biological kids to have it be eugenic so that everybody's grandkids are smarter. And presumably healthier and better memory and all better looking and all the rest of it too. Um, so you could actually do it all within your own family line, right? Like you could have daughters that are biologically yours, and then you could have sons that are from sperm bank sperm, right? Like you could get your wife pregnant with your own sperm as many times as it takes to have two daughters, and however many sons you have, you just send those out, you drop them off at a fire station under the Baby Moses law, and then the government has to take care of them. That's financial warfare against the government. It increases the percentage of men out in society who are men, and increases the percentage of I guess it if you didn't have any sons, it would create a pressure if then like if you chose to have only daughters, like let's forget about the sperm bank sperm thing. If you had only daughters, you had like four daughters, and to get those four daughters, you had four sons as well. But you and your wife dropped the sons, your biological sons, off at a fire station, so that the sons are out there in the world. Well, they could get married and pass on your genes even more, right? And they're making it so that there's now a greater percentage of men out in the society than there are women, and there's more women in the commune than there are sons, because you only kept the daughters. So then this sets up a pressure so that this incentivizes guys, especially if a bunch of men are doing communes and they're all doing this, only having daughters and giving their sons away to the outside world. This is tons of economic warfare against the government, and it's tons of pressure to incentivize guys to join communes so that they can find wives. So this is a good thing from that perspective, but like that's not exactly what's happening here, but like it is putting financial pressure on the government. The more kids you give away, whether they're male or female, because you're forcing the government to raise them. You see, so what you can do is you can have as many biological kids of yours as it takes to have like two daughters, and then presumably that would mean also having two sons, and then you give the two sons away to the government to raise by dropping them off at a fire station or a police station, fire department or a police station, and then that means that the government has to raise those kids, and those kids could pass on your genes as well, so that could be a good thing. And then you have some sperm bank sperm kids, and you have as many sperm bank sperm kids as you need to have two sperm bank sperm sons. And any sperm bank sperm daughters that you have, you give those away to the government to raise by dropping them off at a fire department or a police station. And then that is even more economic warfare against the government. And so now you have two biological daughters and two sperm bank sons. And so what you can actually do is, while they're only half siblings, that's still probably too much. I don't know if that's like the same or even closer related than cousins, but first cousins used to marry each other in the past. It's in Gone with the Wind. It's in a Edgar Allan. No, it's not an Edgar Allan Poe story. If I remember correctly, Edgar Allan Poe himself married his cousin. It was actually pretty common for people to marry their first cousins back in the day. Like, 100 to 150, call it 150 years ago and earlier. People did marry their first cousins all the time. It was pretty common. So, this being the case, might have even been in Pride and Prejudice. That guy who comes in wanting to marry one of the girls, and then the main girl doesn't want to marry him, so then he marries her sister. I think he was their cousin. So, I'm not sure if like half siblings are closer or less related than cousins. It's probably roughly equal, but you still probably wouldn't want your kids marrying each other because they grew up in the same household. That'd be creepy and stuff. So, what you could do though is have like your daughters, you could make sure that your daughters only marry guys who are willing to do the sperm bank sperm thing with her as well. And then so she has sperm bank sperm kids and kids with her husband. And both of those kids with her husband and her sperm bank sperm kids, are biologically your grandkids because she's biologically your daughter. So that means that already you're having sperm bank sperm grandkids who have at least been influenced by sperm bank sperm in one generation. So then already your grandkids are going to be smarter. And then you have, sperm bank sperm sons who are going to have both sperm bank sperm sons and sperm bank sperm sons and biological daughters, and they're going to, pass their genes on that way, but those genes are not yours. But then it's like, those guys are not biologically related to you, but they are biologically related to your biological kids by their mother, right? Because they share the same mother. So then actually your grandkids could marry each other. And you could even have the grandkids that are least related to the other grandkids on the side of the family line that was related to you, that is descended from your daughters who are biologically yours. Those kids could marry the sperm bank sperm sons of your sperm bank sperm sons. So they are just, let's see, that would mean they're actually not biologically related to you at all, unless your sperm bank sperm sons had daughters, and then those daughters had, kids. But even then, yeah, technically they're related to your grandkids, the sons and daughters of your daughters. They are technically related to them because they share the same grandmother, but just the same grandmother. Because usually people share the same grandmother and same grandfather, but they, in this case, not so. Because your grandkids, that is the daughters and sons of your daughters who are biologically yours, will have you as a descendant, whereas and their grandmother, your wife. But the kids of your sperm bank sperm sons will only share that grandmother, your wife, in common with those other grandkids that are biologically yours. They won't share you in common. So, like, getting your grandkids to marry each other when they're only half grandkids, because like grandkids are cousins, aren't they? Isn't that the way it works? Like, if you share the same grandfather, then you're cousins with that person. I think that's the way it works. So this would mean they wouldn't just be first cousins like the grandkids, the ones that are descended from your sperm bank sperm sons and the ones that are descended from your biological daughters. Those grandkids would not be first cousins. They'd be half cousins because they all half first cousins. So that's not even a first cousin. That's like way less than a first cousin. They're only half first cousins. So you could totally marry them together, and that wouldn't be interbreeding at all. If it's okay for first cousins to marry and breed, which it is, pretty small chance, less of a chance of having a defective kid if you do that than having a kid at the age of 40. So, it's really not that bad to have kids with your first cousins, and these are only half first cousins. That's not even close to being a first cousin. I don't know what the term of a half first cousin would be, if there's any official term for what those are actually called, second cousins, or I don't know. I've never understood what second and third cousins are. But what I'm saying is, like, you could actually have your grandkids marry each other and have kids, and it wouldn't be inbreeding really. And then you could be, like, introducing those sperm bank sperm genes, like, to make your grandkids much smarter, right? Like, if your sperm bank sperm sons have daughters, then those daughters are going to be not your genes, but I guess it doesn't even really matter. Like, your sperm bank sperm sons could have sperm bank sperm sons, right? And then those guys are twice, from 2 generations, they've had sperm bank sperm ancestors. And so that means they're going to be, probably 120 in IQ or something, assuming that your wife is only 100 IQ. If she's smarter than that, they're going to have even higher IQs than that, right? Like, these guys are going to have pretty high IQs, right? These grandkids, these sperm bank sperm sons of your sperm bank sperm sons, and then your let's say your daughter, she has some kids with sperm bank sperm and some kids with her husband, your biological daughter, and the sperm bank sperm kids are just as much yours as the other kids are, right? They're not her husband's, but they are yours because she's your daughter. And she's the one, using the sperm bank sperm to have the kids with, So they're still your grandkids, even though they've been made of sperm bank sperm, right? So these grandkids that have had one generation of sperm bank sperm breeding, that is the sperm bank sperm kids of your daughter who's biologically yours, these sperm bank sperm kids have had one generation of sperm bank sperm, and then the sperm bank sperm sons of your sperm bank sperm sons have had 2 generations of, eugenic breeding. And so if you married those two together, those grandkids who are only half first cousins, one who's had, one who's your genes and one who's not your genes, one who's had 1 generation of sperm bank sperm breeding, the other who's had 2 generations of sperm bank sperm breeding, like if your biological daughter is a sperm bank sperm daughter, and then that sperm bank sperm daughter marries the sperm bank sperm son of one of your sperm bank sperm sons, then they could have kids, and then that's, a bunch of generations. It's 3 generations between those 2 parents of sperm bank sperm breeding, and their kids would have, probably pretty high IQs. And if that granddaughter of yours had, more sperm bank sperm kids, even those biological kids would be biologically yours and would have significantly higher IQs than average. I'm talking like 120, maybe even 125, and yet her sperm bank sperm kids would probably even have like 130 IQs or maybe 135. So if you combine your genetic lines like that, you can even actually make it so that even the sperm bank sperm kids that you're having are going to eventually, in the third generation, creating the fourth generation, they're going to combine those lines, the line that was genetically not yours and the line that is genetically yours. You can combine those after a few generations, and if not inbreeding really, and then you can actually massively increase IQ. So even the sperm bank sperm sons that you had that were not related to you end up benefiting your family line by marrying into the family line that was biologically yours. Yeah, and then it ends up increasing your descendants' IQs after all. You see, so you could actually do that. So you don't actually need any other men to do the sperm bank sperm breeding thing with. That is men of your generation. You would still need to make sure your sons understand the importance of, doing sperm bank sperm breeding. But, all women want the best kids possible. They want to eugenically breed, so I think most wives would be open to this as long as their husband wants to do it. So it'd be easy to it'd be easy to get your sons to find a wife who wants to do this. Your sperm bank sperm sons, that is, who you're raising. And then it would be also easy to get your daughters to find a guy who wants to do the sperm bank sperm breeding thing, a husband who wants to do that, because you just refuse to let her marry any guy who's not okay with that. And then she marries a guy who's okay with doing that, and then you have sperm bank sperm grandkids, and then you have sperm bank sperm grandkids on both sides, and then those grandkids marry each other, and then you have great grandkids with much higher IQs, 125 to 135, and then by that time you're all caught up, or maybe not caught up, but you're way better than average, and then that means that you can be the beginning of a dynasty, you know what I mean? Then the commune's getting richer, and everybody, they can all have jobs, and then they can afford to genetically engineer their kids when genetic engineering arises and is expensive and not everybody can do it yet, etc. And then they get a massive head start, and they make the commune richer, and then that wealth can help them start businesses to get them rich, so that they're rich by the time, other, pressures like, genetic engineering arise, or, automation takes all the jobs. They're still able to, survive because of that extra wealth. And then when they're genetically engineered, they've got 180 IQs, and all the other kids in the rest of society are being genetically engineered to have 180 IQs. But your kids, because they live in the commune and you've been saving and doing eugenics and making a lot of money and stuff, you've been able to save up a bunch of money. This means that like your 180 IQ kids are going to have money to start their own businesses with, as opposed to all the 180 IQ kids out in the world who don't have any money from their parents to start a business with. So then your kids, even though they have the same IQs after a few generations, because you switch from doing a breeding program to doing genetic engineering, and so now your kids have IQs no higher than anybody else's out in society of that generation, that newest generation. Even so, your kids still have a massive advantage because the commune has all this extra money to pass down to them so that they can start their own businesses and stuff. And that's because of the past eugenic breeding, which allowed, their parents and grandparents to amass wealth and stuff that otherwise would not have been possible, and because of the frugality of living in the commune. So this is something that I think people who are considering doing the eugenic breeding thing need to think about. The fact that you could actually breed eugenically within your own genetic line. You just wouldn't be able to breed like your kids together, but you'd be able to breed your grandkids together, and they'd only be half, related to each other. So it would be totally doable without it being inbreeding. So yeah, I think everybody needs to think about this as definitely a possible option, and there are multiple reasons why. Financial reasons, freedom reasons, genetic purity reasons. That is, not having your kid get the genes of obedience bred into him by doing genetic engineering. Like, there's all kind of reasons why to have a breeding program, and this is another way that you can do it. This has been Redshift. Hopefully somebody got something out of this video. Peace.